of the hour, 10:30 on February the 7th, a Sunday morning. And we are delighted to have you join our Sunday morning coffee house. It's always a pleasure to serve our community in this way. And this morning, I'm going to hand the coffee house over to Brian immediately.
Well, thank you, Megan, and welcome everyone to our Sunday morning coffee house. We are officially in year 2 of connecting, collaborating, and locking arms with like-minded humans across the USA, but we're hoping to go global. Let's see if we can make that happen here in 2021. And that only happens as a result of all of you who decide to share your time and energy with all of us. So we're just incredibly grateful that you make that decision. And please do share this with anybody that you love and anybody that you meet. So thank you so much for being a part of our coffee house here and for just making it something that grows and adds value and brings connection into people's lives. So without further ado, I'd love to introduce our featured speaker today. Our featured speaker will be Russell Mariani. I have a kind of a unique relationship to him. It's one I don't really have with anybody else. Well, I'll just come right out with it. He's my dad. So that's our relationship. And I'm very lucky that my dad is also an exceptional human in that he founded the Center for Functional Nutrition back in 1980. And he has been delivering information and guidance to people all around the world that was very ahead of its time, that was very even controversial at its time. But Russell just always was full force ahead because he knew that what he was delivering was exceptional, worked, was effective, because he himself had gone through a healing process by using the practices and principles that he's developed and given to his clients and people all around the world. So his work is based on practices and principles. These are not fly-by-night trends or diets. These are the most essential things that all of us can do to live and be our best selves. And what's really unique about Russell's work is that he focuses on the most fundamental source of health, which is our cells. So Russell is going to be delivering content today on this incredible relationship that he speaks to as this unconditional love that our cells give us. And he's going to speak to that in the way that only Russell can. And I will be quiet and let him do his work. So Russell, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Brian. That was quite an introduction. I think you just spoke very beautifully to unconditional love. So I would thank you for acknowledging your unique relationship to me. And I'd like to acknowledge my unique relationship to you, in that you have supported me in my work, and I deeply appreciate that. And good morning, everyone, and welcome to you all. Yes, I want to share a few thoughts this morning on this idea of unconditional love. We can strive for unconditional love in our relationship to ourselves and our relationship to others. But one of the great insights that I've had in my career over the years is that the cells of our body literally have that kind of love for us, towards us, 24 hours a day. And it's a miracle. And the more we can comprehend it, the more we can protect it and defend it through our actions. I believe it's simply one of the paths that we can choose to help realize our full potential. So I just wanted to share a few short quotes and then talk about these 7 root cause areas where we can have the greatest impact on the literal physical condition of ourselves. So here we go. So this morning I went online to the massive online dictionary we all share and looked up the words unconditional love. And there were many, many, many definitions, so I just selected these. Unconditional love is something, unconditional love is sometimes known as affection without limitations or love without conditions. It is a type of love without bounds and is unchanging. In psychology, unconditional love refers to a state of mind in which one has the goal of increasing the welfare of another despite any evidence of any benefit for oneself. In Buddhism, the principle of unconditional love is expressed when one treats all living beings as if one was or had been in a previous life or previous incarnation, their own mother. A loving mother will do anything for the benefit of her child. The most loving of all relationships may be that one between a mother and her child. Of course, if all beings treated all other living beings as they would their own child, there would be much less hostility, division, sorrow, and suffering in this world. So now just a couple of short quotes about cells. In order to be healthy, a cell needs proper nutrients and oxygen. If our cells are healthy, then we are healthy. It's as simple as that. In order to maintain our health, we must learn to provide our body with the nutrients that our cells need to survive and thrive. All cellular functions are determined by the environment in which cells live. All cells take their nutrients and oxygen from the surrounding blood and lymph in which they are floating. Cells then become what they eat. When cells become damaged for any reason, we must be able to give the body the raw materials it needs to heal itself, replacing the damaged cells. Replacing the damaged cells with healthy new ones. If we do this, then the body can do the rest. The root of the word health is heal. The body is constantly healing itself. The body's ability to heal itself is one of the most fundamental and essential principles of life. And that's a quote from the book called The Science of Healing Revealed by Gary Samuelson, PhD. Now this quote, again, a short quote, this is from one of my favorite books that I read in the 1970s. This is a quote from a scientist named Alexis Carrel. He wrote these words in 1935. So keep that in mind as you listen to this. Human beings originate from a single cell. This cell divides into 2 other cells, which in turn divide themselves, and this division continues on indefinitely. In the course of this process of structural elaboration and construction, the embryo retains the functional simplicity of the original single-celled egg. The cells of the human body seem to remember their original unity, even when they have organized and become the elements of an innumerable multitude. Each cell understands spontaneously and intuitively the functions required of them inside the organized whole. This innate knowledge of the part they must play in the manifestation of a healthy, wholesome body is a consciousness or mode of being inside each and every cell. To me, when I first came across that idea, that notion, I had been very steeped for years in the study of meditation and the study of all kinds of things about consciousness. And I always thought of consciousness as being out there somehow vaguely in here. But when I read this, I understood it was a profound realization that trillions of cells make up my body. And the consciousness that I had been reading about for years, the consciousness of God, the consciousness of the universe, the consciousness of love and compassion, the consciousness of selflessness, was literally empowering every cell in my body, enlivening every cell of my body and every cell of your body and every cell of every living thing. So that consciousness is there. That consciousness is working on our behalf constantly, 24 hours a day. And how do we support it? How can we support it in many, many different ways? And then just a few years ago, so I'm always looking for things to affirm and verify this notion of the consciousness inside of ourselves. So just a few years ago, I came across a book, probably many of you have read it. It's called The Mastery of Love by Don Miguel Ruiz. And this is, again, just a short quote from that book. It's called Your Cells Are Completely Loyal to You. If you look at your body, you will find that you have trillions of living beings who depend on you for their health. Every cell in your body is a living being who depends on you for their health. You are responsible for all those beings. For all those living beings that are the cells of your body, you are in charge. You are the mother and father of all those cells. In this way, you can be loving, kind, and generous to them all, or you can be mean, dismissive, and negligent. The cells in your body are completely loyal to you. They work in harmony together with all the other cells in your body for you. Your cells love you unconditionally. But what is your relationship to them? What is your relationship to your cells? What kind of a steward or gardener or caretaker are you? The relationship between you and your body, between you and all those living cells, is perfect in the cells half of the relationship. Just like a compassionate and all-loving God is perfect. But the other half of this relationship is your mind. The cells of your body always take care of their half of the relationship, but your mind is the one that always gets in the way and abuses and disrupts the exquisite health and harmony that is possible. Mindfulness, therefore, is the key to your health and happiness in this life. And then he closes this quote by saying, now, what are you going to do with this knowledge? So what I've tried to do over the years with this knowledge is share it as often as I can, as frequently as I can, as creatively as I can. And it is the basis of my practice. And before I say anything else, I really want to admit and acknowledge that I am flawed in my ability to take care of my cells, that I am still learning and I am still striving to be a much better steward and caretaker of my cells. So I want to say that. So I think most people are aware of mindfulness in this kind of the biggest view, like the 30,000 foot view of mindfulness, that we want to be aware, we want to pay attention, we want to choose our responses. And that's definitely true. We want to make better choices in all the areas of our life, particularly in the area that affects the physical foundation of our life, which is ourselves. So even our mental, emotional, psychological, spiritual foundation while we are in a body is literally ourselves. Any emotion that we feel, any elation that we feel, any positive or negative, anything we feel is are feelings emanating from all those trillions and trillions of cells. So part of the mindfulness that I teach is mindfulness when it comes to habits, specifically related to how they're going to affect our physical body. And in the area of food and nutrition in particular, so things like, are we peaceful when we're preparing a meal? Or are we listening to the news? Are we calm when we sit down to eat a meal? Many physical ailments occur because we're not creating that separation from our work life or our emotional life from eating and nourishing ourselves with food. Are we sitting down? Do we eat slowly? Do we eat quietly? Do we eat peacefully? Do we chew our food properly? Do we overeat? Do we eat too fast? Do we eat too late in the day? So these are additional things to consider in the area of mindfulness. And that is the first root cause area of the 7 root cause areas that I've identified, and several other people have identified in the world of functional medicine or functional nutrition. And again, going back to one of the first quotes I shared, the body is constantly healing itself. And therefore, when it comes to the choices and decisions that we make about the most mundane aspect of our life, what we eat for breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, what we take as supplements, not one of those decisions is neutral or has a neutral impact on our physiology, on our cells. Everything is either complementary or insulting. And so this is the idea with what I just shared about mindfulness, this idea that everything is either complementary to the normal functioning of our cells or the optimal functioning of our cells, or it's actively insulting and potentially harmful. And therefore, if we don't do the work of determining or separating out clearly in our mind the complementary habits from the insulting habits, then we can be undermining our physical health, emotional health, psychological health, etc. So root cause area number 1 is mindfulness. Root cause area number 2 is proper daily hydration. And no one on the planet disagrees with this. Everyone knows that we need to be hydrated. Most people have a water bottle or 2 or 3. But literally, if you look at the cells of your body, 55 to 75% of the physical structure of every cell is water. And so if there's drought at any level, you can manifest negative symptoms. So the simple formula is based on body weight and activity level. And this whole explanation is in my book. You can access this information through the website. We drink half our body weight in ounces of water per day. I weigh 200 pounds. I drink 100 ounces of water per day. I've been doing that for 25 years now, since first discovering what we call the water cure, and it is a transformational health habit. Root cause area number 3 is micronutrient deficiencies. Root cause area number 4 is macronutrient imbalances. There are 2 types of nutrients, the ones that we see on our plate and the ones that we don't see. Those are the micronutrients: vitamins, minerals, trace minerals, amino acids, essential fatty acids, healthy fats, pigments like chlorophyll. So scientists have identified close to 100 different micronutrients, and we need all of them at different levels, literally on a daily basis, in order for our cells to function normally. So this is the area of superfood supplements. And we have our favorite type of superfoods. Everybody needs to have a really good full spectrum superfood as part of their overall diet. And then root cause area number 4 is macronutrient imbalances and excess. So this is literally, what are the foods most suitable for most human beings on planet Earth? And of course, this may be the biggest area of disagreement. You put 100 nutrition experts in a room, and they might tell you about 100 different diets. And so, so I've never followed a particular diet. I followed what I think of as dietary principles that have stood the test of time. If we could go back in time, 200 years ago, 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago, at different places around the planet, we would see that people ate organic whole foods and organic fermented foods of a wide variety of locally grown, seasonally oriented foods. And those food patterns, those dietary patterns had not fundamentally changed in many, many generations. So a simple whole foods approach is what I recommend and what I advocate. Root cause area number 5 is intestinal dysbiosis. And that means that there's an overgrowth of the wrong kind of organisms in the gut. But talking about cells, I'll just say this short piece about the number of cells that live in our digestive system. So when we normally think of the human body, we're looking at 100 trillion cells: bone cells, liver cells, kidney cells, brain cells, nerve cells. That's what we normally think of as the body. But living in the ecosystem of organisms that inhabit our digestive system, which starts at our mouth, goes down our throat, into the stomach, and then we have 24 feet of small intestine, 5 to 6 feet of large intestine. If you were to take this ecosystem and put it out on the land, it would cover an entire tennis court. So there's a tremendous amount of surface area living inside of our digestive system. And the number of individual bacterial cells, scientists now calculate 1,000 times 100 trillion cells. So that's a very big number. And this is why you get this idea that the gut is the second brain. This is where you get this idea of the gut, the digestive system, having an enormous impact, not only on digestive health, but the rest of our health. If we were to define the human body just by the number of cells, what we normally think of as the body is only 10% of what we are. So the digestive system, and particularly the bacterial cells, the probiotics that live in our ecosystem, exert an enormous and very powerful influence over the rest of our body. We're supposed to have 80% of that ecosystem be healthy bacteria, probiotic bacteria. And again, scientists have now talked about somewhere between 2,000 and 3,000 different types or different strains of probiotic organisms. So as we like to say in the world of functional medicine, everything is downstream of the microbiome. So just as we said earlier that if your cells are healthy, you are healthy, we can also say if the cells in your gut are healthy, if the microbiome is healthy, then you're going to be healthy. And during the time of COVID, there isn't any system in our body that's more important than our digestive system. There isn't any group of cells more important than the probiotic cells of our digestive system, because that system provides 80% of the antibody producing cells of our immune system. So you can also say that if your digestive system is healthy, your immune system is healthy. And the best defense against any virus, including the coronavirus, including COVID-19, is a normally functioning immune system. Okay, root cause area number 6 is oxidative stress. I once heard a functional medical doctor say 90% of all adult negative health conditions are chronic and degenerative in nature. The other 10% are infectious diseases caused by bacteria and viruses. So what we're dealing with COVID is not a chronic degenerative disease, it is an infectious disease. But that typically only accounts for about 10% of all the health challenges that people deal with throughout the course of their life. So 90% of all adult negative health conditions are chronic and degenerative in nature, and 100% of all chronic degenerative conditions are caused by oxidative stress. So oxidative stress is a very particular type of negative stress, and it is at the root of all inflammation in the body. And inflammation is caused by oxidative stress. Inflammation is caused by excess free radical activity. And these free radical molecules destabilize the structure of our cells. And once that happens, damage occurs. And if the damage is not repaired, then our bodies, the cells begin to dysfunction, which leads to disorder, which leads to dis-ease. So all the things that we've been talking about so far, mindfulness, hydration, micronutrients, macronutrients, intestinal symbiosis, healthy bacteria, and addressing oxidative stress, all of these things have antioxidant or anti-inflammatory benefits. And so understanding what foods, supplements, behaviors in your diet are anti-inflammatory, are rich in antioxidants, is a critical piece of the puzzle in allowing the body to heal and allowing the body to maintain high levels of health and functioning. Root cause area number 7, and then I'll be done. And then we can open it up to Q&A. Root cause area number 7 is something called redox signaling molecules, deficiencies and imbalances. It's a very interesting, fascinating area of health and medicine. It's very young. It's one of the newest sciences. Redox signaling molecules were discovered for the first time in 1997, so not too long ago. The scientists who made the discovery won the Nobel Prize for Medicine and Physiology in 1998. Since 1998, laboratories around the world have been trying to biosynthesize these little redox signaling molecules that are made in the mitochondria of every healthy cell of our body. So our body makes these molecules. Our cells manufacture these redox signaling molecules, but due to age, due to environmental stress, due to bad habits in our diet and lifestyle, due to all the other normal causes of dis-ease and dysfunction, our body produces less and less of these redox molecules as we age. So back in 2008, 2009, a team of scientists led by Dr. Gary Samuelson, who has his PhD in atomic medical physics. He is a nanotechnician. He works in the world of nanotechnology. They were able, for the first time in human history, to create outside of the body these redox signaling molecules and then stabilize them and put them into a supplement form that looks like water, tastes like water, but attached to the water molecules are trillions and trillions of bioactive and balanced redox signaling molecules. So in a nutshell, what redox signaling molecules do, they signal genetic expression, they communicate between cells and inside of cells, and their primary job is to identify damage in the cell as it is occurring and to send a signal and get the information back in order to repair that cell before it can duplicate itself, replicate itself in a damaged way. All chronic degenerative conditions are the result of damaged cells that have lost the ability to repair themselves. So all of the other things we've talked about will help the cell to repair itself, but according to the latest science, there is nothing more significant in a cell's ability to identify or detect damage and then to be able to repair that damage than to have access to balanced and stabilized redox signaling molecules. So again, if you're interested in learning more about that, please contact Megan or Brian or myself, and we'll be happy to share more information with you about that and all the other root cause areas. Okay, I did it. Brian, how are we doing on time?
Yes, that was perfect. Right on the top of the hour. And you've delivered that content. I think you started putting it into that form in the early 90s, and have evolved it and sharpened it and made it better and better over the past 20 years, based on the experience over 40 years. And it's a message that can't be delivered enough. It's like these are principles, and tied with them practices of those principles that, if done in a consistent and mindful way over time, can really produce what we're all here to do, which is to live out our human existence in a great way, in a healthy way, in a graceful way, not burdened by disease or discomfort and all of those things. So it's such a constant reminder of what we could all be doing on a daily basis. And it's especially relevant right now, of course, and it was just delivered unbelievably in like 20 minutes. So just awesome, Russell. I just loved it. And I'd love to open it up so amazing people start waving, and I will call on you. Megan, you're going first.
Yeah, I have to say something too. And I think that this, yes, this information that Russell, and it's more than information. It's like, it's a perspective from the outside in and the inside out of our bodies. And as Brian was saying, Russell's message over the years has, Brian used the word sharpened. And Russell, there's a certain elegance now to it, and a certain delivery. And even though I've heard it many, many, many times, it's like it's always still fresh. Because as you grow and as you learn, as you were saying, you're not perfect now and you're constantly learning, your ability to be able to bring this information into what you already know has never, it never ceases. So it's really a privilege to be able to listen again to you always. So thank you. And just this insight into unconditional love deep inside our bodies. I mean, it's still, I just still have a hard time, grabbing my mind and senses around that. But when I hear it and when I listen to it, it's really good. So thank you.
Thank you, Megan.
Thank you, Megan. And thank you, Carol, for your beautiful words in the chat.
Yes, I saw that. Thanks, Carol.
Thank you, Carol. Catherine Taylor, go for it.
Well, I really responded to the whole reminder of how every cell holds that vibration of unconditional love, because I think, from my world, what I'm constantly trying to get people to do is to bridge to all the different parts of them in a loving way. I mean, we're here to learn self-love so we can share love with others. And the idea that we're walking around with every cell as this loyal servant, and the fact that we don't have to go further than our own bodies to experience that unconditional regard, and that every cell is connected to Mother Earth, is like we're all so kind of blanketed in this maternal love if we just tune into our own physical form and infuse it with the light that's already there. So this was beautiful, and I agree with Brian and Megan. It's just you're so succinct and just boom, boom, boom. It's so organized and easy to cognitively accept. So thank you so much for your delivery.
Thank you, Catherine.
Yeah, thank you so much, Catherine. And that's really, you hit the heart of it. It's like, if there's anything gained from this, work that Russell does and this delivery that he's given, it's like, let's all be so much more confident in our space and in our being, because we are ultimately and absolutely constantly healing beyond anything that we could ever do. Everything that we are is constantly moving in that direction, and we simply just need to be more conscious of it and more respectful of it. I love it. Thank you. I think I've got Pat Hambury first, and then I'm coming to everyone else.
Cameron Morfitt, Brian.
Yeah, that's okay. Go ahead, Pat.
Oh, hi, good morning. I'm living proof of especially the evolution of this message. I've worked with Russell, and I've known him since the 90s, worked with Russell in the 2000s, and then didn't really sink into that and continue on taking care of my body the way I should. And now your message is amazing, and it's perfect, and it's evolved, and as we all do at all times, but it's just perfect, and you did it so well, and I so appreciate you and your family being in my life and all of the groups here that have helped me on my healing journey. So I'm very grateful, and I am so just love this message, Russell. It has evolved to such a beautiful, beautiful presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat.
Thank you so much, Pat. That is, for us personally who know you, we got it. Thank you so much. Cameron, I saw you waving. Go for it.
Yeah, cool. Hi, Cameron. I think this is the
Hi,
first
all.
time we're seeing each other. We've been on the phone for months, so this is cool. Thanks for coming.
Well, my audio is a little spotty here, so I don't know. Can you hear me?
Yes.
We can
Okay.
hear you.
I just want to thank you for all of the support that you've given me since September. And I took a 2.5-hour hike yesterday in the mountains in Arizona, and that would not have been possible back when we first started. So I want to thank you for all of the support that you've provided. It's meant the world. And I appreciated what you said this morning about the being conscious of all things, not just the macro and the micronutrients, but sleep and meditation and mindfulness. And I think it's fascinating to me to embrace the mystery of who we are. And there is so much to know. And as you sort of were speaking about being still learning about this stuff, I feel the same way all the time, where I'll wake up one morning and I'll be in a great mood, and I'll wake up another morning, I'll be in a terrible mood. And well, what's going on? What is happening? What went into that? What did I eat last night? How much sleep did I get? So it is a fascinating mystery to me, and I appreciate having a fellow traveler by my side and a guide by my side to sort of be on that journey with me. And so keep up the great work that you guys are doing.
Thank you so much, Cameron. Beautifully said. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Cameron. Anyone else waving? Yes, sorry, Carolyn, I saw you before. Go for it.
Yeah, Russell, that was beautiful. I think Jana and I just wanted to say thank you for presenting that information. It was just absolutely incredible and so in alignment with what we feel and think. And it was wonderful to listen to. Great presentation. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Carolyn.
Thank you, Carolyn and
Yeah.
Jana. Yeah, it when I look out here and I see, Russell, Carolyn and Jana and Catherine Taylor and Wes Hamilton and, many others who, I forget who said this, but, there's this old saying about teachers and masters that it basically we are all on our paths, and that's individual to us, and it connects all of us. And great teachers and guides, through their language and through who they are simply able to shine a brighter light on that path for us. And Russell, I think you just really hit that home today. Again, it was an incredible delivery. So thank you, Russell, and thank you for all the other great masters and teachers and guides out there. Yes, I see you, Janet. Go for it.
Hi, guys. Thank you, Russell. That information was, when you hear a message, you don't always get it. Sometimes you have to hear it many times. And one thing that came up for me in that is, I know about hydration. I didn't realize there were so many cells in the gut. I knew there were a lot. I didn't know there were that many. You talked about probiotics and you talked about superfoods. And I wondered if you had any, not necessarily product recommendations, but for those of us who don't actually know what a superfood is or how you would get probiotics, on an understanding that what you're getting is good stuff and not just somebody selling something, because there's so much out there, there's so much information, it's overwhelming. So could you give us a pointer? What is one extra thing we could eat, or one product, one supplement that we could take that would be impactful generally?
Thank you, Janet. Thanks for that question. There's a lot that could be said about that. And yes, we do have our favorite probiotic. We do have our favorite superfood, and we recommend these things. We can, if you contact the office through our website, we'll send you a PDF that explains our current supplement recommendations. And then we'll follow up with you on the phone. We'll be happy to give you that information. And I'll just take this moment to do a plug for my book. Of course, everything I talked about, those 7 areas generally, I mean, as specifically as I could in the short time frame. But of course, in my book, I go into great detail and I give very specific recommendations for the supplements that cover, each of those areas. So that would be the best way to get you that information. But thank you so much for your question. And
Yeah.
your words.
Yeah, thank you, Janet. And to everybody, we have a customer success team. So just go to our website, call the phone number. We never, ever don't take those calls, and we always get back to you. And all of that information is available to everybody. You don't have to sign up or pay anything. It's just all completely available for everybody. So for you, for people you want to share it with, it's all there. Thank you, Janet. All right, last chance. I think that we are ready for some good news. Let's do it.
All right. So I am going to share some good news this morning. I want to do 2 things. Well, yes, I'm going to do 2 things. I'm going to share a few love poems. February, the month of love. Wes Hamilton got us started last week talking about kind of renewal, kind of starting over, and talked a little bit about love. And so I'm going to do that. But I was pleasantly surprised last night sitting in front of the fire with Brian and Megan, and I was reading one of my favorite magazines called The Week, and this magazine kind of collects information from media sources all around the world. And so here's a little piece of good news, and it's totally in sync with what we were talking about this morning. The heading is a potential vaccine for multiple sclerosis, but you'll see in a minute. It is very short. You'll see in a minute why I'm pointing this out. The German firm that partnered with Pfizer to develop a COVID-19 vaccine in record time says it has applied the same breakthrough technology to create a new vaccine that could one day be used to treat or stop multiple sclerosis. BioNTech, which is the name of the company, has been working on so-called mRNA. This is mitochondrial RNA. So this is in the inner sanctum of your cell, our mitochondria, and these vaccines are based on manipulating the mitochondrial DNA and RNA, the key genetic codes that allow the cell to function properly. Just unbelievable, it's mind-blowing stuff. Unlike traditional vaccines, which kick the immune system into action with an actual piece of the virus or a dead or weakened version of the virus, mitochondrial RNA shots instruct the patient's body to build a chunk of the virus on its own. Multiple sclerosis, though, is not caused by a virus, but by the immune system malfunctioning and attacking the myelin sheath. This is a covering of the nerve cells surrounding the nerve fibers, causing muscle weakness and neurological and sensory disorders. Current treatments for MS suppress the entire immune system, which can leave patients vulnerable to infections. So rather than teaching the immune system to attack, BioNTech's experimental vaccine primes a set of, here it is, quote, peacemaker cells. This new vaccine, utilizing mitochondrial RNA, instructs the peacemaker cells of the body to quiet the immune cells, destroying the myelin. Okay, I'll just stop there. So think about that as you go through your day. Most people think only of our immune cells as being kind of militaristic warriors that are only out to kill other cells. Now, granted, they're killing viruses and bacteria, but I don't think I've ever come across scientifically the idea of a peacemaker cell. Okay, so that's amazing. So we have all kinds of cells, and now we have cells that are dedicated 100% to keeping the peace inside of our body. So we definitely want to be friends with them. We definitely want to encourage them. We definitely want to nourish and support those peacemaker cells. Okay. Now for Valentine's Day coming up next week, and just as another expression, I'm going to share 3 short poems. And each cell, I think, speaks to unconditional love in some way. So here we go. This poem is called Early in the Morning. Early in the morning, the hermit wakes, hearing the roots of the fir tree stir beneath his floor. Something is there, a strength buried in earth that carries up the summer world. When a man loves a woman, he nourishes her. Dancers strew the lawn with the light from their feet. When a woman loves the earth, she nourishes it. And earth nourishes what no one can see. And that is written by the Minnesota poet, Robert Bly. And I first heard that poem probably 9 o'clock in the morning at a writers' conference in Sebago Lake, Maine, around 1980. Okay. The next poem, when I first heard this poem, I was still a student at Rutgers University back in 1977. It was at literally the first poetry reading I attended. It was around March 1977, just a few months before my graduation. And I heard this poem and it completely blew my mind. It opened my heart in ways that I had never really experienced before. I left that poetry reading that night and I did not go back to my dorm room until dawn. I literally walked around all campus all night long because something new had come into my life. And it started when I heard this poem. It's called Inside This Clay Jug. And this is a translation of a poem from the Sufi poet Kabir. And it's called Inside This Clay Jug. Inside this clay jug, there are canyons and pine mountains, and the maker of canyons and pine mountains. All 7 oceans are inside, and hundreds of millions of stars. The acid that tests gold is there, and the one who judges jewels, and the music from the strings no one touches, and the source of all water. If you want the truth, I'll tell you the truth, friend. Listen, the God whom I love is inside. And one last poem, very short. And this poem is from E.E. Cummings. And it's based on the knowledge of the Impressionist painter Renoir, Jean Renoir, who near the end of his life had very crippling arthritis in his hands. And every day when he would go to his studio to paint, he had his assistant tie his paintbrush into his hand because he couldn't hold it anymore. And so Cummings wrote a poem based on that. And it goes like this. Miracles are to come. With you, I leave a remembrance of miracles. They are by somebody who can love, who shall be continuously reborn a human being. Someone who said to those near him, when he could no longer hold the brush, tie it into my hand. And with that, we are done for our Sunday morning coffee house. Thank you all very much. Love you all. Have a wonderful, loving month. And remember that your cells love you unconditionally.
Yes.
Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful morning.
Hmm.